might have hurt him a little bit, but ultimately the Vikings were just going to destroy that army.
The Colossus were just going to get wiped out when there's that many Vikings on the field. And we've talked about this many times at the office, and it looks like right now in many cases that Protoss players do need to transition at some point to High Templar and hope they can survive the ghosts, right?
That's
really
one
what
thing
he needs
that you
to do
haven't
in
really
many
seen
cases.
a lot of.
Yeah, I mean, really, that's one thing that Protoss is. It's both a blessing and a curse, the fact that they do have Storm, the Zealots with legs, those upgrades, but it takes a very long time to get there. You saw how gradual it was, first with the Gateway units and then the Stargates, and then getting the expansion of the Colossus, then expanding more and getting the Zealots with leg speed, and just didn't quite have enough time for that final step.
Oh, and it seems like Loner even likes to watch replays after he wins, see if there's anywhere that he could maybe improve.
I wonder if he's just sitting there with both hands on the back of his head, just like, perfect.
I did do that well. That was good.
That was me. I did that.
Now, you'll note that Loner didn't make the same mistakes he made last game. He stayed very, very calm, very defensive. Generally, you see Terrans being extremely aggressive.
Yeah, especially Loner after the previous two matches.
Yeah, you see players doing medevac drops, poking around with just 3 or 4 Marauders and some Marines trying to pick off any extra probes, really trying to spread the Protoss thin, but Loner just sat, played defensive, knew that NEXGenius would probably harass himself to death. And that's exactly what ended up happening. So both players seem to be ready. Looks like Loner is double ready, has said ready twice. Yes, we are starting the next game. I try to make a happy face, but it is fairly butchered. He's now gotten an accident. And we are going into game 3 between Loner and NEXGenius. Give a cheer for Loner if you want him to close out the series and head to the finals. The Superman from China. You know, those cheers have been getting bigger and bigger and bigger as the tournament
And now let's hear who's out there for NEXGenius to take this next match. Okay, now moving into Lost Temple, we can see warping into 3 o'clock position. This is NEXGenius as the blue Protoss. And down here, landing in, we have Loner as the red Terran.
Now, this is a very interesting set of positions. The map, always an important factor, but also on every map, the spawning positions are an important factor. These 2 bases, even though they look far away, after you take your natural expansions, the distance from one base to the other one's natural expansion is very close. In other words, players are going to feel extremely uneasy trying to take a 3rd or a 4th. And in all matchups, PvT is where you really end up having lots of expansions. So it's going to be very uneasy for both players.
It's also going to, NEXGenius is going to have a very hard time taking that natural anyway, because Terran are going to be able to get siege tanks up on that cliff. We haven't really seen Loner quite go for that just yet, but it is a viable threat.
And another big danger for Terran is the fact that he wants to do drops, but I mean, if we go over to the edge of NEXGenius's base and look at this cliff, this open space, Stalkers can walk around here freely, can easily pick off some of those medevacs, so it definitely is a little more comfortable for NEXGenius by air, but much more uncomfortable by ground.
This is what's so shocking for many players. When they ask, they'll ask me or they'll ask people at the office, how do I beat a certain matchup? We'll say, well, what map? And they'll tell us the map, and then we'll say, what positions? And they'll think, oh my goodness, are you kidding me? I have to learn all the race matchups and all the maps and all the positions, and that's absolutely the level these guys are playing at. And so it's vital at this point for these guys to use that terrain to their advantage.
There's the barracks going down, the refinery, same basic skeleton structure of his opening, and exactly the same way in NEXGenius's base. A gateway and then a gas geyser allows you to begin teching reasonably quickly, again, without ever having to cut any SCV or probe production.
Right, and both of these players are very, very comfortable with their openings. As we see, they both have a lot of options moving out into the game. And we now can see Loner throwing down his orbital command as this NEXGenius's probe continues to harass just a little bit in that base. And we also see up on that production overlay that NEXGenius has now thrown down his cybernetic score.
And now generally players are throwing down a Zealot, but because the barracks is coming out a little bit late, he knows he doesn't need to worry about any big scary Marauder push. He can just go directly for the Stalker. Loner is also getting another reactor and another barracks. This is one of the most basic openings in this matchup. You get a very fast reactor barracks and you get a very fast tech lab barracks. And you make a good amount of Marines and Marauders and expand shortly thereafter.
And we've seen this many times in this matchup. These early stim pushes using Marines can be challenging for Protoss players in many cases. And because they're so close to one another, he's got to be hoping he can use that to his advantage.
There's the scout for Loner, just poking around. No Zealot, so nothing to be able to kill off that SCV. SCV is going to be able to get a good little bit of information. And it looks like he left without really seeing any decisions from NEXGenius. But again, this second gas geyser is down. The timing of the second gas is always a huge signal. And NEXGenius, oh my goodness, pulling guys off gas. He might go for yet another expansion. I mean, this is a very clever play by NEXGenius, extremely high level. He knows his opponent, knows what the gas means, and he's just going to turn that on its head and take an expo.
Wow,
that'll be actually really interesting to see how that plays out as the rest of the match goes. Now, NEXGenius moving across his SCV. He's going to be able to easily establish map control at this point. Just going to keep that probe out there, no problem. And we do see a very good call from Sean, Day 9 plot. That Nexus is going down.
Indeed, there's the scan right now. There's the warp gate going down, and ooh, it looks like he probably saw no guys in the gas geyser. Loner, meanwhile, back in his base, just getting a very fast stim. And as usual, Loner's made this mistake several times before. He makes the scan, he panics when he sees nothing, and just throws down a bunker because he just doesn't want to lose on the big stage to something goofy.
Right. And you saw the Terran scout there, tried to get it back into the base. He was visible briefly on the minimap, but it was gunned down by this force. So the question is, can he get through and see what he... No, he does not. And that remains hidden to him yet again. And using the Stalkers at this point, using their speed and using their ability to sort of kite Marines, he's maintained map control at this point. It's a large force for the Terrans right now, but the Stalkers can dance around that quite a little bit. So he hasn't pushed out right yet. Here's another scout, want to sort of sneak around and see what he can see.
Right now, the Terran player must be getting very curious because NEXGenius has been extremely aggressive with his scout denial.
And oh no, Loner doing another misread. Going to be moving forward with the same kind of stim push. He has lost 3 SCVs already. He's already very low on economy. And meanwhile, NEXGenius is making 4 warp gates in his base just in time. And now he's warping in a lot of sentries. Those are the key units, but his army is not as big as it was in Game 1. The positions are a lot closer. And here's the push forward. No stim yet. Darting forward, he's trying to kill off the sentries. Those are what cast the force fields. And building a bunker. Does he have stim done yet? No, it is almost done. But the bunker is going down. A second bunker. NEXGenius's early expand antics might end right here. And there he is moving forward. Still not a lot of units, but now the warp gates are really starting to kick in. The bunker is still halfway done. Loner only just now has stim. Looks like he can throw it down and do a little bit of extra damage. And there it is. NEXGenius having to pull back, trying to pull those weakened Stalkers into the back area. That bunker is almost done. He needs it done so bad, and there it finishes.
Nice. A very, very good job from Loner getting in there and making the push at just the right time. NEXGenius was quickly scrambling to try and turn those gateways into warp gates. It's looking like this Nexus is going to go down. It's so close. It only has 184 HP remaining. Will these Stalkers be able to deny it? This is actually looking almost bad for Loner. We see that SCV rapidly trying to repair the bunker. Will it be thwarted?
There's only 2 Marauders left in their target firing. The Nexus is at 63 hit points, 25, and it's down.
It goes.
He takes out the Nexus, but at what cost? He does not have an army anymore. NEXGenius knows the spot that he is in, and oh my goodness, 23 food for NEXGenius, trying to warp in more units. Loner putting on more pressure. He needs to throw down a defensive force field. He needs to block his ramp. No, he doesn't block his ramp in time. He has 1 sentry that is up. He could throw down a force field to help him stay alive a little bit longer. But wow, look at that probe count from NEXGenius, so low.
Now, a good move from Loner right now would be to get up there and bait that force field immediately while he continues to build a much, much larger army.
Yeah, get him to spend that energy, try to bleed those force fields out. That's the only thing right now that's protecting NEXGenius at all, is the possibility of having more force fields in play and to buy himself some time. That's really all he's got in that slight cliff advantage. It's a tiny, tiny force there facing off against the Terrans gathered around that watchtower.
Yeah, taking a look at even the food count right now. Loner literally double the food count of NEXGenius. NEXGenius is in a very difficult position. He's going to have an extremely hard time working his way out of this.
And meanwhile, poking around NEXGenius's base, all he has are the warp gates, and there's the stim. He's darting forward. He's going to be able to pull back. There's that force field, though, but he has vision up to the high ground. The sentries are trying to do as much damage as he can. NEXGenius's Elts are in a terrible position. There's only 3 sentries left. Another force field. All NEXGenius is trying to do is to stay alive. He is trying to warp in more sentries. And the sentry falls. No more force fields are available. There's 1 Zealot, but look at that great control, pulling the units to the backside. And he does manage to take it out. There's the good game.
Wow.
Coming back from 0-1. He is in the finals from the winners bracket. Give a cheer for Loner, your champion from China.
That is a huge win for this player. And I think China in general.
China in general.
GG.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just a fantastic use of those Marines and Marauders at that choke point. Really, he was just a couple of hit points on that last Marauder, even from not having that vision on the high ground, but he kept his position, he danced well, and it was just wonderful use of that push.
And I mean, it really goes to show what you were saying earlier about how StarCraft 2 is a game about inches. In that first game, we called it a big mistake that Loner made that early push, and NEXGenius had just enough units to stay alive, but because those positions were so close on Temple, just an extra 3 or 4 seconds was all Loner needed to make big use of that push, and when the bunker went down, he was able to take it.
Literally right when that push was happening, we saw NEXGenius just trying to turn his gateways into warp gates. It was that close to being defended, and we also saw Loner make a really good decision to bring over some SCVs and establish that bunker over there as well, because it's probably the reason why that Nexus even went down.
Yeah, that was really key. And you saw during that battle, actually, that the SCVs, there's our boy.
Yeah, let's have a hand for Loner.
And of course, you haven't seen the end of NEXGenius.
No, you
He will be in the loser's bracket. He will be meeting whoever comes through in the loser's bracket final. The players that are still remaining in the loser's bracket are Huck, Maka, and Dimaga. So I would love, and of course, the other players from the semifinals. White Raw is in the semifinals.
And Sen, excuse me.
Oh, wow, yeah, that's right, because Loner
there's a lot of matches.
Loner did knock Sen down into the loser's bracket. That's an incredibly impressive run by Loner.
Yeah,
wow, he's
really.
gone through an incredibly hard series. But either way, we're going to be going to a short commercial break. Just want to ask if there's any last words you have, because this is our last match together.
Oh, that's so bad, so sad. Well, I'd like to thank everybody for coming out and supporting us for esports here. This, we believe, is the future of StarCraft. This may be the future of strategy gaming in general. So thanks to all the people at Blizzcon who came to support these gladiators fighting for us on the stage.
Thank you so much, Sean, for having us on here. It was an honor casting with you.
And it was totally great fun for me, too. So we will be doing some more StarCraft 2 and Warcraft 3 matches after this short commercial break. So hope to see you then. We are here at BlizzCon 2010. Cheers.